when I was going through all the questions that you guys submitted before the show, or some of you did, I had a really hard time cutting them down because I have been waiting for a year to answer these questions. So we have quite a few of them, but I'm hoping that I can answer all the questions that people have been wondering about for so long. So let's get to it.
And I know there's people who are from here in Chicago, who are from far away, who've been here all day waiting for questions. Question number 1 comes from Tori. Tori wants to know, was the final version of Breaking Dawn how you originally planned it, or were there other plot lines you created and this is just the one that made the cut?
I have known the ending of this series since about October of 2003.
Wow.
So it's actually been a long time coming. The rough draft for Breaking Dawn, which you guys know as Forever Dawn, was finished around February of 2004. And I really stuck to the original plan because once I thought of it, it seemed like the only possible ending. So really there weren't other plot lines that I was choosing from. This was always the way it was meant to end.
Now, how long have you had Renesmee in your mind? This question comes, I must add, from Jacqueline Klein. She says she's in row CC seat 1, so wherever Jacqueline is, you made it. She said Bella getting pregnant just threw her for a loop. I loved it, don't get me wrong, but I still had the what?
Actually, Nessie was one of the reasons that Breaking Dawn exists. When I first started working with an editor, and they had Twilight, and I showed them what I was working on with Forever Dawn, and they said, we'd really like to keep Bella in high school for a little bit longer and develop that more and keep it more YA. And I said, okay, there's interesting stories to get in there. And then after I started working on it, they said, we'd really like this to be just 3 books and end with Eclipse. Can you make an ending that you're happy with? And I said, no, I can't make an ending that I'm happy with. It was actually a very hard-fought battle, and I was fighting for Nessie the whole time. She was a character I was not going to allow her to be destroyed. She had to exist, so she was in line for very long.
Now, will there be more movies to follow the Twilight saga?
I thought I'd better throw in one movie question, aside from the one about Rob Pattinson's phone number, which I don't have, that is still undecided, but I can say I've had such a good experience working on Twilight that I'm really open for it, and I hope that we can get that going.
Leah wants to know, and I do too, how is it physically possible for a male vampire to... She goes on, this question directly responds to being told that vampires can't have babies. When you were first asked the question, did you not think that it specifically applied to Bella and Edward's ability to have children together?
There were several questions along this line, as you might imagine, and I picked this one specifically because I want you to imagine for the last year, me going online and reading all these, Stephanie said this, quotes that I never said. There was quite a bit of misquoting going on, and I was always very careful about how I answered this question because, of course, I knew Renesmee was on the way. But I didn't want to spoil that and take away some of the excitement of something new happening. So I tried to evade it as much as possible. When I did, I always focused on female vampires because, of course, physiologically speaking, there's a lot of change that goes on when you're pregnant with a child that couldn't happen. So when I answered that question, that was really all I ever commented on. It is physically possible. I don't want to get into it in too much detail. I knew this was going to happen, but it's a whole long thing. I'm guessing it's going to have to show up somewhere like in the Twilight saga guide that's going to come out later so that we can all But in the same vein with that question, and speaking of difficult questions, I actually pulled 2 that I wanted to read together, not specifically to answer, but just to show you what we're dealing with here. The first question, and I love the use of quotation marks in this. Stephanie, in Breaking Dawn, I was hoping for more details of their first time. I was wondering... why you didn't flesh it out more. But then, this other question. Why did Bella and Edward become so sex crazed and raped the dawn? Now I can let my sister read the series. It's a fine line to walk, and I wrote what I was comfortable with and what I wanted to see in the story. Obviously, you can't please everybody all the time, so I wrote what I wanted to see. But just so you know, yes, obviously I thought about that on both sides, and I tried to do what I felt like was truest to the story.
We know which side they're on. Did James hunt a real child of the moon? And is that what Victoria thought Seth was?
I like to throw in some of these that are easy answers. They're just information. And yes, that's exactly what happened. James was looking for a challenge, and he did track down one of the few remaining children of the moon. So that was Victoria's first instinctual thought. But if you look at Seth closely, you can realize that's not really what's going on. I had fun putting that hint in Eclipse.
This one comes from Candace, who came from Kansas City to be here. Why did you choose the name Renesmee, other than what was listed in the book? And will we hear more of her story? P.S. You're awesome.
You know, it's funny because I have seen some reactions to the name Renesmee, and people are like, what is that? And it's funny, I've been thinking the name for so long, it seems completely normal to me. But when I chose it, I really wanted something that no one else had, because there's no one else like Nessie, and I wanted her to have something very unique and original.
Who is Embry's dad?
That question was in there like 17 times. And so now I know a lot of people are mad when I say that. I'm not going to say because you know what, I'm not even sure that I know. I know that sounds crazy, but really there are secrets that my characters keep from even me. And I had that experience with Rosalie actually when I first started working on Twilight. I had no idea she didn't like Bella, and her character was really flat. And then sort of halfway through I figured it out. I was like, oh, she hates Bella. And then she was really easy to write. So sometimes my characters don't tell me everything. I have my suspicions.
Joanna, who is from Coalinga, California. Joanna, you can say hi if you want. She gets two questions. One, why did Bella keep her baby when she knew she was dying?
That one was real serious. It was kind of different tone from the others. And the only thing I can answer to that is that I have 3 children, and I know what I felt like with each one of those children, and if someone had told me, if you carry this child to term, you will die, I would have done it anyway, because that's how some of my experience as a mother reflected in that part of the story.
Okay. And Joanna, lucky Joanna, second question. Will Jacob ever rejoin the pack?
I like that she had 2 very different questions, and the Jacob one's an interesting one. Actually, no, because once you're an alpha, there's no going back from that. So now it has its own.
Liz from Milwaukee would like to know, I think we found Liz. Will Jacob stay immortal with Renesmee when she reaches maturity?
I did see some concern about that, and the lovely thing about their relationship is that Nessie apparently will not age past, you know,